Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Luke Live Online. I'm Father James DiLuzio, and I'm here to offer today's pericope, Luke's Gospel, chapter 12, verses 10 to 15. And here we go. Jesus said to the crowds, "Whoever speaks against the Son of Man will be forgiven. But the one who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven. When you are taken before synagogues and rulers and authorities, do not worry about how or what your defense may be, for the Holy Spirit will teach you at that moment what you should say." Then someone from the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." And Jesus said to him, "Friend, who appointed me your judge and arbitrator?" And then Jesus said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed. For though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." And there we have it. We'll start, of course, with a little commentary on the first part. Most people are confused by this blaspheming against the Holy Spirit, and what could that possibly mean for an all-forgiving Lord? How could we take this? And there's many different theories out there, but the real truth of the passage is the Holy Spirit is trust in God. The Holy Spirit is hope incarnated in us. The Holy Spirit is the vehicle of God's love and forgiveness. The Holy Spirit is, for us, the experience of God. So to deny the Spirit is to deny hope and forgiveness in one's life. And so if one denies that hope is possible, denies that one can be forgiven or that forgiveness is impossible, well, then you're out of the circle. You're out of the circle of life. You're out of the beatitude. So it's like its own dead end. However, it doesn't mean that God doesn't forgive, because one can turn to God at any time. As you can read the Psalms, we abandon God, we feel God abandons us, but in the end, to return to God is something that's available at any time, no matter what we have done or have failed to do. Which brings me to that other point I've made in the past about baptism. Baptism initiates us into the world of forgiveness. That's its heart. There's all the talk. We could go on and on. I could go into detail about what we actually mean by original sin and that we're cleansed from original sin. But basically, the original sin is wanting to replace God with ourselves, and at the same time to refuse to be forgiven, because we know we don't need forgiveness, we don't want forgiveness. That's all kind of tied in to wanting to be God in God's place. So we're initiated into forgiveness in baptism. That's why it's an indelible mark. You can leave the church, you can be an atheist, but at any time you can return. At any time you can think otherwise, think differently, and so you always will be forgiven. As to the guard against greed, well, that's a constant. The world is always telling us buy more, accumulate more. Again, it's not the possessions in themselves, it's what they can do to us in our psyche, how we can define ourselves. If we define ourselves by our possessions, well, if we have a lot, I guess we're okay, sort of. But we know that the really best possessions are really best when they're shared. Even like the books you buy. I'm a big book buyer. It's more important after I read it to share it with others and share the ideas and to share the stories. That's the gift of the book, not the book itself. I have to engage in it. That's true with the scriptures as well. They're really just weren't meant to be just on a printed page. It's when you read it so that the Spirit is active. So again, it's the interaction. And then it's the sharing, which is equally important. Because if we just read and just keep this inside to ourselves, it doesn't fully come alive. It isn't. It doesn't manifest itself unless it is shared. So those are some thoughts for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and tune in on Friday. I actually will have a Friday Young at Heart. Oh, I had a Saturday last week. So thanks again for joining me, and have a great day. God bless everybody.